Welcome to Sandwich Chamber Presents, a program that showcases the members of the Sandwich Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, Joe Arno, and with me are members of Eastern Bank. I have Ronna Murphy, Senior Vice President and Regional Manager, John Broderick, Senior Vice President, Consumer and Home Financing, and Kirby Holmes, the Branch Manager for the Sandwich Branch, probably soon to be known as the East Sandwich Branch.
No,
Potentially.
we'll just be the Sandwich Branch.
Just Sandwich Branch?
And then we will add our Heritage Park Branch.
Heritage Park Branch, and that's, we'll be talking about that in a little bit, of the merger between Eastern Bank and the Community Bank. But first, we have a little bit of the history of Eastern Bank and where they started and how they ended up here on Cape Cod. So we'll be right back.
Our commitment to social justice is part of who we are. Social justice, Eastern Bank. It's a nice fit. A lot has changed since those early days, but our devotion to our friends and neighbors has never wavered. As we've grown, our mission has expanded and evolved, allowing us to serve so many more across our home state. We were established as a mutual bank to meet the needs of the people of modest means, those who didn't have access to the banking system. It was, and still is, a value we strongly embrace. This allows us the opportunity to advocate for those in need, with the understanding that needs come in many shapes and sizes. We do this by moving beyond the status quo and inspiring change to the health of our community. Through advocacy, collaboration, and passion, we work for the equality and dignity of all.
Okay, Ronna, why don't you describe to me, as Senior Vice President and Regional Manager, what your role is and what you cover?
Absolutely. Thank you, first of all, for having us, Joe. We're really excited to be here. My role, basically, I have 6 branches on the Cape, soon to be 7 with our community merger. And we are more in the Upper Cape area than we are in the Lower Cape area. So I have 6 branches, Sandwich being one of them, Mashpee, Falmouth, T-Ticket, Cotuit, and Hyannis. My role is basically to make sure that operations, sales, HR issues, community relationships stay intact and stay very strong.
And that must keep you busy quite a bit.
I have about 100 people reporting to me, but my 12 managers, which are 6 off Cape, keep me extraordinarily busy.
And how long have you been here on the Cape presence? With Eastern Bank? With
Eastern Bank. Well, Eastern Bank has been on the Cape since 2005. We came to the Cape via our Plymouth Savings acquisition, and I joined Eastern about 4 years ago to head up the region for them.
And where were you prior to that?
I was with Citizens Bank for
Citizens.
13 years.
So you have big, right? So you have big bank experience, and now
much
you're
more
into
of a local flavor. Wanted to come someplace where it touched my heart, and Eastern Bank does that, and it is just, you know, they have 3, what we call it, the 3-legged stool, which is all about our customers, our colleagues, and our community, and they really stay true to that mission. And I wanted to come someplace that supported that mission, and they do.
Now, how do they, with consumers being the customers, consumers being the first leg of that? How do you make that happen with the bank?
Sure. Eastern's mission is truly to serve the underserved, and that's how we came about, as you saw in the earlier video. And with that, we look at it as a very consultative way of selling. We want to sit down with you. We want to find out who you are, what you want, what your dreams are, and we want to be able to put a program or products together that fit those needs. A lot of times, I'm going to be honest with you, Joe, we've said to the customer, you're perfect where you are, stay where you are. Some people we've helped along the way that if this is what your goal is, in order to get there, these are the steps that you need to take. And some of them we've just said, you're so upset where you are, come on over, and right. You know, you'll belong to the Eastern family. So that's how we look at it.
And I've noticed is you guys are absolutely involved with the community, and Kirby's well known around town, and I know your new manager in Mashpee, Randy Oakley, is getting very involved. So it's great to have you guys out there in the community and you're part of what makes everything tick around here, which is great.
It truly is who we are. I mean, I always say to my managers, you got to give back. It's a two-way street. You can't just have a branch and not give back to your community. So we really encourage our managers, and not only do we encourage them, but we support them in anything that they do out in the community. We have some good news that I think I can share. You were at the Chamber annual meeting the other day.
Yes.
And on it we saw the new center, the new Chamber Center that's about to be built. And Eastern Bank is donating $10,000.
Fantastic. That's
and we
great.
are doing it, and we're naming it after Kirby, because Kirby has been such an important part of Eastern, and prior to that, Plymouth Savings. She's been with the bank for 30 years.
Wow,
And
that's
Bob
fantastic.
Rivers, our president, was at that meeting and immediately sent Peter Dubé a message just saying, you know what, I want to donate $10,000, and I really want to honor Kirby for all her hard work.
Congratulations.
So
That's
I don't
awesome.
think we just talk about it, I think we do things about
Right.
it, and I think that's the important thing. So we're really excited
That's great.
about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful for everybody, especially you, Kirby. Congrats. That's great. So banking, very local, very customized, but I think John, I think you could probably speak to this best. There's so much going on a national, federal level because of the big swings in the market, the downturn, and what's happening now. As a real estate agent, it's been tough getting deals through in many occasions. Last minute things falling apart. Having a local bank like you guys is key to our success as realtors, but sometimes our buyers don't want to listen to it. We don't have control. Tell us about overall how the market is doing, how you and what's coming down the road. This is a loaded question, but let's start out with the market as a whole right now and what's going on with loans in general.
Sure, Joe, and thank you. It's great to be here as well. I echo the sentiments of Rana. But I oversee the lending operations at Eastern Bank for consumer and mortgage, which is mortgage, home equity loans, auto loans, credit cards, and whatever else you can think of. So really what's most near and dear to me at the moment is the mortgage and equity, and that's where I've spent about 30 years of my career overseeing as self-employed, owning a mortgage company, and then the last 2.5 years with Eastern Bank. And you know, we've really seen a paradigm shift in how business is being done since the economic collapse in 2008 when the housing industry went down. I often like to think of it as the sort of the underwriting pendulum. You know, having been in the business for a number of years, I've seen the pendulum go from very conservative to very loose to conservative. And it has always been this cyclical swing because memories tend to be short and history repeats itself. Never, however, have we seen the pendulum swing as far as it has right now to the conservative side in the reaction to, as Alan Greenspan put it, the irrational exuberance of the housing market back a few years ago. And as a result of that, of course, obviously a lot of mortgage lenders and banks have had difficulty. Many of them left the market. Really, you know, it's very, very clean right now, and the quality of the business that's being written is very clean. And the reason for that is that it's so conservative, and exactly what you describe as being difficult to get a transaction through is the case. The second quarter numbers that came out, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are the big entities that buy most of the mortgages in the country, their second quarter results of analysis of the loans that closed indicated their average credit score, not average, but 70% of their loans had credit scores of 740 and above, 740, and that used to be, you know, just the absolutely most prime, squeaky clean prime. Now that's kind of the average that they're seeing, and 68% loan to value, which means people with equity. And you know what that tells me, you know, with this conservative lending is that there are an awful lot of people that are being shut out of the box right now that, you know, deserve to have an opportunity to be able to refinance or buy a house, but you know, the restrictive lending has caused that to be difficult. And you know, some of that has been brought on with regulation. Dodd-Frank was an enormous bill, which was in its original format was 1,700 and some odd pages, And I think we have a picture to show you of what that looked like. One of our loan officers in the Cotuit office took that photo, printed it off and took this photo. There have been another 5,000 pages of regulations written on top of that.
Wow.
And the estimate to comply with all of these is about 20 million man-hours per year.
Wow.
You know, cumulatively between the lenders. And funny little aside to that is it took less than that to build the Panama Canal.
And that's
So-
by pick and shovel, basically.
And that was, yeah, with a pick and shovel. So,
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot, and there's a lot more coming down the road. You know, some of the things that we're facing right now would be Basel III, which is a requirement for how much banks need to hold against the dollars that they're lending. And of course, right now we're just coming up upon elections, and we have the fiscal cliff issue that's approaching at the end of this year, which is another issue that we'll be dealing with. And you know, we've talked
Can you
about
explain that, the fiscal
the
cliff?
fiscal cliff is kind of the perfect storm, I guess, of economic issues, which hits on December 31st, and it's really a combination of tax increases, either by not continuing the Bush tax cuts of 2003, or by not continuing the 2% payroll tax, which we've been enjoying, and also by, you know, maybe some tax increases due to it's going to be the first time that Obamacare is going to actually hit our pocketbooks. So we've got this combination of, you know, potential, you know, economic problems. And it was interesting that Alan Greenspan came up with the term irrational exuberance, and Ben Bernanke is making his mark with the term fiscal cliff. Neither one of those terms existed until, you know, one of these Fed chairs came up with it. But you know, what will happen is if we ignore it, then the concern is the double whammy of increased taxes and decreased revenues, because there are also some tax cuts that are going to hit, will cause us to potentially fall back into recession. That's if we just do nothing. If we stop them both, then that will help us in the short term, but the debt will continue to increase. So, you know, really we're hoping that somehow or other the Republicans and Democrats can get together to find a compromise to meet in the middle somewhere. So the home interest deduction is on the chopping block potentially in this too, at least in some way, because that's very important to homeowners and home buyers.
And there's another tax I don't think a lot of people know about that's coming up, and that's on home sales. Is going to be a 3.8% tax on, I believe, on a closing. If you were selling it, a 3.8% tax. If you make a certain income or above a certain income, you'll be taxed on your closing, and that's off the top number, so on the total sale number. So that's going to have a negative effect on sales as well, or what people will have after there.
Sure, so it's a good time to be involved. You know, the real estate market has always been very resilient, and I'm sure it will continue to be. But everyone needs to be involved to see these things coming, because when you're talking real estate, you're really talking something that's very emotional to people. You know, the roof over their head is up there with food, water, and then there's shelter. And you know, it's a real important thing. And when you start losing, you know, a piece of that American dream that people have had, and oftentimes their potential retirement, either selling their home or, you know, using it in some other way, or leaving it to their family. It's a real, it's a tough issue.
And not only that, it's a big engine for providing jobs and work. The amount of money that is spent after a transaction for furniture, for lawn care, for all that puts people to work, and it's exponential. It just keeps growing. So it's extremely important to keep the housing market.
It sure is. It took the economy down, and it's got to lead the economy back.
That's right.
So
you mentioned refis. Oh, actually, let me just jump back real quick regarding the underserved. Rhonda mentioned it, and you just mentioned those that are being served with this high scores. So there's a big chunk of the population that is not being served by the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans that are going out. How does Eastern Bank handle that, or how do you stand apart?
That's a great and timely question, and we really didn't even talk about this ahead of time, but we have a new program called the Opportunity Mortgage, and which we'll be rolling out to our branches in a campaign this month. And basically what it's doing is, we've identified these people that are out of the box, hardworking, honest, good people, always pay their bills on time. They get caught up in this economy, which has been challenging to everyone. And so maybe last year they missed a mortgage payment, or maybe they couldn't pay a medical bill, or maybe they lost their job for a while and the car payment fell behind. Well, that's been an automatic disqualifier of being able to reduce their mortgage payment. Perhaps they're stuck at 6, 7%, and that's an awful lot of money every month when interest rates are so much lower now and they could really realize some real savings. So our Opportunity Mortgage is identifying this as an opportunity to serve the underserved, where we could actually, we have programs now where we can offer people a respite from their current mortgage payment. We're not looking at credit scores. We're not driving these through the secondary market engines. These are Eastern Bank loans done the old-fashioned way. A real person is going to look at these loans, underwrite them. They're going to ask questions. They're going to ask for an explanation. Obviously, someone who is, continues perhaps through their own will to not make payments is not going to qualify still. But if it's someone that is back on their feet, had a tough time, a year or so ago, we're going to give them the opportunity to come back and rebuild their credit, take advantage of some lower rates now, and then if they follow the plan in another year or two, perhaps even refinance again to an even lower interest rate. So we're real excited about this program. We think the name Opportunity
That's very
fits.
refreshing. Based on what's going on now, that's a great approach. The old-fashioned.
The old-fashioned. Of course, the one piece is they do have to have 20% equity because this doesn't fit the mortgage insurance guidelines. PMI and so forth has their own separate layer. But this is an Eastern Bank product, and we're real excited about rolling it out.
That's great. Good for you.
Yeah, we can't wait.
Yeah, I bet you'll that'll create a lot of buzz. You get a lot of people interested in that. Now, and refinancing too. That's been, I know a lot of loan officers that are inundated with refinancings, refis on their homes. How's that working out for Eastern? I don't know, John, if you want to handle that, or Rana.
Sure. Well, a lot of our Eastern Bank customers go through branches. Kirby's branch, and perhaps you want to explain, Kirby, a little bit what happens when a customer comes into Sandwich branch and asks about mortgages?
Sure. We actually have mortgage officers that can work with the Fannie Mae, work with the portfolio loans, and take them through a traditional first mortgage, or we have our home equity line, which is called a flex equity, that you can actually lock into an interest rate. Presently we're at 3.87 for 20-year term, no application fees, no closing costs. So you could take a higher rate first mortgage, put it into this flex equity, and get your rate down to 3.87 without any out-of-pocket costs. So there's multiple ways. Those applications are handled right in your local branch, so I would do it in Sandwich with my staff, or we would refer over to our mortgage officer, who for Sandwich is Tabitha Baker, and does a great job and is very experienced.
So you're actually taking that mortgage and paying it off
with an equity, and then locking into a fixed rate of at 20 years for 3.87%.
Wow. And so what kind of qualifications are needed for that? Is it the same as a primary loan?
No, it's a little bit different. Because you have the capability of reborrowing that money, the qualifications are a little bit higher.
Okay.
But so many times folks are taking a 6% interest rate down to 3.87, or even a 4.5% interest rate down to 3.87, and it's not costing them anything, and they're not having difficulties qualifying.
Because their ratios are
right,
less.
their loan amount is low enough.
Right.
Plus that program that Kirby's talking about, you can fix it for 10 years, you can fix it for 15 years, you can fix it for 20 years, and the rates are different in each tier. The highest rate at 3.87 currently is at the 20-year, then you go to 3.75 at the 15. The nice thing about this is people that might be in a 25-year loan can reduce their rate and reduce their term.
Right.
And so they're paying off their loans faster, And as Kirby mentioned, you know, even if you're at a 5.5%, I mean, we sit down, we do what's best for you. You know, we'll give you scenario 1, scenario 2, and then assess what's best for you based on what your goals are. Do you want to pay it off earlier? Do you want to reduce the rate? Do you want to do a combination of both? And as you pay it down, that money frees up again so you can use it later on.
And is there an amount of equity, 20% again, 80-20 rule still
It
sits?
is the
Right.
80-20 rule.
Yeah, okay.
And what's particularly unique about the flex equity too, which is really unique to Eastern Bank, is you can think of the equity line as like a credit card on your house with a much lower rate and, at least currently, a tax deduction.
Right.
So we're seeing a lot of people doing you know, home improvements with these as well. So you draw on it, you can pay it off, you can draw on it again, you can pay it off just like a credit card. The interesting thing with the flex equity though is, like, let's say you want to go and you do add a sun porch to your house in Sandwich, and it costs $15,000. So you had taken out an equity line of, we'll say for example, $50,000, meaning at any point along the way you could draw up to $50,000 on this line, but you only used 15. You don't owe anything or have to pay anything on that difference. It just sits there waiting for you to draw at some point in the future. But now let's say the 15, you say, you know what, I want to pay that off over time and I want to have some stability. I think I'll lock that in. Well, Eastern Bank allows you to lock that $15,000 in at a fixed rate and still have access to the other $35,000 in this example. And you can do that with up to 5 different segments of,
Nice.
of money. So you could have, you know, 15,000 locked here, 10,000 locked here, 20,000 locked here. And really no other equity lines allow you to do that. It's just, you know, it all floats all the time. So it's a great feature.
So
Yeah,
it
that's
allows you to
fantastic.
take the term of whatever you're using the money for. I always use a car. You wouldn't want to take and purchase a car and amortize it over 20 or 15 or
Right.
10 years. You could do it for 5 years, like a car loan, but now you're getting that tax write-off
Very
because
nice.
it's securing your home, not the car.
Sure.
So it's a great
Very nice.
program.
Yeah, makes sense. We touched on real briefly the merger with the community bank. Can you
Sure, elaborate
Speak
a
to
little
that,
bit more.
yeah.
We're very excited about it. Community is also a mutual bank, and we are a mutual bank. And I think there's a lot of people don't know what a mutual bank is, and I think it's one of those. What's a mutual bank? And we're just not owned by any stockholders. We're owned really by our depositors. And this allows us kind of the freedom to do what we want to do. It gives us what I call long-term capital. We don't make decisions that are for today, we make them for the long term. And Community Bank is also a mutual. So we're merging with Community Bank, although they'll take on the Eastern Bank. They will become part of the Eastern family under the Eastern logo. In Sandwich, we have the Heritage Park location. So as of December 1st, that Saturday morning, if you go into that bank, it will be all Easternized, as I call it. We are keeping all the staff there. It's been a really, really super merger. They're very excited. We're very excited. We've been able to retain, I want to say, up to 80–85% of all the community employees
Great.
in all the locations. Everybody here, it's 100% retention at our branch here. And we're just excited to have them part of our family, and they do a lot of community lending. They have the same goals and the same mission as we do. So it's really a nice fit together.
That branch does have a great feel to it. They know my name. They don't. If I don't know my account number, I do. I don't have to tell them who I am. You know, that's how personal it is there. Maybe I'm in there too much. Maybe maybe I'm in there too much, but
It's all those deposits
It's
you're
great.
making.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
I don't have to pull money out through the teller, so.
Well, I think it's just wonderful that we're going to have 2 locations, and you know, we'll have Kirby's branch kind of serving the 6A area, and then the
Sure.
Heritage Park serving the 130 area. So and then up the street is our Mashpee branch. So it's what I call a really nice triangle, and then we're very, very excited about it. I think it's going to be a really nice fit.
Yeah, that's great. That's good news.
And I wanted to mention about serving the underserved. You know, we talked a lot about our residential lending. We also have our business lending.
Yes.
And we just earned, I shouldn't say we won, we really earned for the 4th consecutive year in a row the SBA, being the #1 SBA lender in Massachusetts and in New England, although we are only based in Massachusetts.
Wow.
Eastern's only in Massachusetts, but we won the title for both. And this really goes to serve the underserved, which is, the business community, honestly. We have a lot of small businesses on the Cape. Not even only on the Cape, but if you really look at small businesses, somebody says 99% of businesses in America are considered small businesses. I did this research a while back. I didn't get it that high. I got it up to 90% are small business owners. And so our SBA program, because we're a preferred lender, can get it in quickly, a quick turnaround time, and it's really, it's perfect for that small business customer that's looking to purchase equipment or expand on their loan, or we have a lot of seasonal businesses on the Cape. Having a line of credit that kind of takes you through the winter months is also very imperative. So that's also how we serve the underserved.
And what does it take for someone to get an SBA loan? What is the process for that?
They come in and see Kirby.
Kirby's busy.
It all starts.
It all starts with Kirby, everything.
They have a number
Kirby
system
does a
then?
lot of
Like the
things.
deli?
Well, we do. The branch managers have a lot of opportunity to help directly. We do have our partners like the Tabitha. Karen Gallagher would be my small business partner. But there's loans that, $50,000 for a line of credit or $100,000 for a term loan are handled in the branch on a one-page, easy application. If you're looking at a commercial real estate loan or a line of credit or term loan that is larger than those amounts, then we would bump it up to Karen, and it would be, she would do more processing on it. But again, another partner that we work with in the branches.
We want the businesses to be profitable, not have taken losses in the last 3 years, have been in business for at least a year. The loan needs to have a reason behind it. We
Sure.
just don't want to hand out a loan. We want to make sure, honestly, that we're not putting small businesses in any jeopardy of not being able to repay it. So we do, but it's a simple one-page loan for those loan amounts that she talked about. And it's really based on the business credit score and the personal credit score. And those are the two imperative things. Those have to qualify, and the business has to be an eligible business.
And what is an eligible business? What does that mean?
Everybody has what I call and don't ask me what the acronym stands for, an NAICS code, and there's over 10,000 of them. You'll see them on your tax return. We have 200 businesses that are ineligible, but eligible businesses, I'll give you some examples. Hairdressers are eligible businesses, an attorney, a physician, a dentist, a design place, carpet solutions. I mean, we have so many different types of businesses, all the professional services that are eligible. But what I would recommend if you're interested in this, all our branch managers are fully trained on it, so just go into your local branch and they'll be able to help you with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what makes up a branch, Kirby, and what does your branch look like? Who's there? Who's involved? When someone walks in the door, what happens?
I'm a very, very lucky manager in that my staff has been there for a long time, or they've moved because they were promoted to another branch. As Rhonda mentioned earlier, I've been with the bank for actually 31 years this year. My teller manager, my customer service rep have both been there for 15 and upwards of 8 years for Margaret. And then we have a part-time teller who's been there upwards of 8 years. So we really get to know the people and get to know our customers through the good times in their life and the bad times. When you come in, you become part of our family. We do a great job, and not only in Sandwich, but I truly believe in all of our branches. We do a great job with customer service and trying to do what's right for the customer.
That's fantastic.
I always say, Joe, there's a little bit of black and a little bit of white, and there's a lot of gray.
Right.
And we try not to judge customers by the black and the white. We try to say, let's get to know you, Joe. Let's get to know you, Kirby. Let's try to figure out how we can be helpful. And sometimes we can, and I will say to you, most of the time we can. And sometimes we can't, but our goal is always to service that customer as best as we can. We get a lot of kudos and a lot of compliments on our service. 2 years in a row, we won the J.D. Power and Associates. We hope to get it back this year.
What is that for?
It's for customer service.
Customer service,
And
okay.
it's really it's an honor bestowed us by customers that really say Eastern Bank offers
That's
this
fantastic.
fantastic service. So we do every day. I think we come in there. I will say nobody wakes up in the morning and says I'm going to come in and do a lousy job. Every day you wake up and you say today is going to be the day. Today I'm going to do the best that I can. And we have that mission in mind. And every day we try to do the best that we can for our customers. And I think we succeed at it.
And we have fun doing it.
We try to have a lot of
We
fun.
try to have a
We
lot of fun.
We like to have fun with our customers. We like to get to know them. We like them to get to know us. We like to have a lot of fun with them. And I can't tell you enough about Kirby, but I will say to you, you know, I think her customers are like her family. I haven't seen a manager fight for her customers more than Kirby. She knows them so well, and that's how you sell a story, right? That's when the times are tough and you need to get something through. You need somebody like Kirby that's going to help you push that through because she knows you so well.
So what is this? So I assume there's a board, or John, you might be able to speak to this. There's these requests for clients that Kirby has. Does it go up to a board? Is there, and then it's decided, or how's that work?
Sure. The way it works, basically, we try to take this same approach in the lending area too, where, you can't always control what someone has done in their past in managing their credit or their employment, and sometimes they've controlled it, as we mentioned earlier, and sometimes they haven't. But what we try to do is get enough information early on so that there's no surprises, because that's really what people want to avoid, is a surprise down the road at the 11th hour. And I'm sure some of the viewers have gone through a process with refinancing their mortgage or buying a house, and you even mentioned 11th hour issues that can come up sometimes. And the key to managing a good lending operation is to have knowledgeable people up front that really kind of pre-underwrite, so that anything that could be a potential obstacle is addressed early on in the process. And so what happens, there's a different process based on whether the loan request is a equity line, or whether it's a mortgage-like opportunity that we would be keeping, or whether it's a loan that we might be selling, because somebody has that 740 score and they have the 68 loan to value and they want the best rate. So it's basically everything is approved by Eastern Bank, whether it's an equity line or whether it's a loan that we're doing ourselves. Secondary market loans we sell off obviously to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So we approve them internally, but we have to approve them to their guidelines. So for the most part, loans do not go to boards per se. They go to our underwriting department. First, they would go through a pre-screening process by the loan officer or the internal sales team that we have. Secondly, they would go into a processing situation where someone not related to the sale of the product is going to review it and make sure it fits the guidelines and that it's appropriate for their needs. And then lastly, it goes in for final approval by someone who has underwriting authority. And we have a team of these underwriters, and loans go into a queue and they come out the other side, hopefully approved.
Nice, good. And Kirby and all the managers must be a big push and all that, getting it done. That personal touch.
Well, I would say
we call John and say, John, can you really look at this one for me?
It looks
right?
well, the branch managers are the eyes and ears on the street, and they may have information that, because Eastern is personal with the customers, a customer may confide something in Kirby who they know and trust and see on a regular basis, more than they might confide in a loan officer that they've maybe met once, or who they're working with oftentimes over the telephone. And so that piece of information, or that background about that customer and their story, really becomes very important to us. And so Kirby oftentimes can add color to the situation that helps us make a better decision.
What looks on paper isn't necessarily what someone may come to that conclusion.
And that's, you spoke to it initially, and Kirby being such a force in Sandwich, being a part of the chamber, she really is out there getting to know everybody. And Kirby, why don't you speak to being part of the chamber and what it has done for you and the branch and Eastern as a whole?
I truly believe that you get out of the chamber what you put in. I love my community. I love where I work, and being able to do things together is very important to me. The Chamber offers great networking opportunities if you take advantage of them. Wonderful ways to promote your business. I'm involved, I co-chair the retail committee with Donna from Scenic Roots. And one of our big focuses is trying to get people to think local, shop local. By getting to know the businesses in town, you get to know places that you may be able to buy a birthday gift or something instead of just hopping in the car and taking off to Hyannis or Plymouth or Boston or someplace else. If you use the chamber and get to know the businesses, it all comes back to you.
I agree. And jumping into the car and going to those other stores, sometimes you're going to shop local and you're going to get something that's totally unique, totally customized to what you want, and you're going to really make an impression if it's a gift on that person, or if you're decorating your home or whatever it is.
But you got to get out and see the businesses to see what they have.
Yeah.
Not when you need it, but ahead of time. Get out there. So shop local, everybody.
Shop local, absolutely. And we were at the dinner the other night, and I guess the Sandwich Chamber has now hit 300 members,
yes,
which is extraordinarily impressive. I mean, that is so impressive. And I have to say, I just go hang around Kirby, and just it's amazing the sense of family that you get when you're at one of the chamber events. Everybody really knows each other. They partner with each other.
And we have fun with each other. I mean, we become friends, and again, we get to know each other. So if, I know Joe other than just seeing him on whatever, the fourth Tuesday of the month when we get together, we bump into town because, again, we're both promoting the chamber and local. You get to know people and they become your friends.
Absolutely. That's a nice organization.
All of our businesses want each other to succeed. I'm not only into having my branch be successful. I want Joe to be successful, and I want, Scenic Roots and all of these other places to be successful. So by me helping them, they're helping me at the same time.
Absolutely.
And Kirby always displays, I don't know if you've been in her branch lately, Joe, but she will host, display your business in her branch, because the customers that might walk into the bank might not walk into that local business. And every time that I'm in my branches, it's one of the services that we offer all our small business customers, and even prospects that might just, want our customers to see their merchandise. And I will tell you, when I'm visiting my branches, I'm like, all right, I'm shopping today. What am I shopping for? And you see what the local business has, and it's always amazing, the arts and the crafts and just that local touch. So that's one of the services that we do offer our businesses at Eastern also.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, I want to thank you all for coming and joining us on the show. It was a pleasure and very informative. Hopefully our viewers will not just take into account what the great things that your bank offers, but also some of the events, some of the topics that John had mentioned regarding getting involved in government, knowing what's going on. Everybody's future is at stake in these elections, and any involvement going on beyond that. And knowing what's happening in the government, it's important. And staying local. Kirby, thanks so much for coming. Rana, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for watching us on Sandwich Chamber Presents, and you can watch us on Channel 13, or you can go to the Sandwich Community Television website and also on YouTube. We'll be out there. Thanks for joining us.